Welcome to another edition of the Motley Croc Show. I'm looking at some people behind stage with some cool stuff, and we're going to be introducing a post-Christmas show with special guest Rikki Rockett from the band Poison. For all you young guys, I don't know what that is, which you should. You should be ashamed of yourself if you don't. The band Poison was an amazing band throughout the 80s and 90s, and their music's just going to be forever iconic. And so I'm going to join. Brittany's going to be with us here. We're going to add Brittany Barbieri to the stage. What's up, Brittany?
What's
And
up?
our one and only Rikki Rockett. How's it going, my friend?
Hi, Brittany. I've been watching you on, everything, every social media. You're everywhere. You're on TV now. You're at Starbucks. Like you're everywhere.
That's pretty
Shit, you
awesome.
saw me at Starbucks, Ricky? Shit.
No, they're advertising you there. I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool.
How
They
are
should
you,
be.
man?
They should be. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Anyway, look, a miniature chainsaw. How good is this, huh? The saw is family.
I think that is absolutely awesome. What's up, Michelle? Here's something. Let's get on with that. So everybody, Rikki collects all kinds of horror stuff and monster stuff and figures, and he paints them. So we were talking a little bit behind the curtain here about that type of stuff, and we're going to touch on that with him. We'd like to talk. He's got a big life to fit into an hour. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here. So I want to touch on some of that. We want to talk a little bit about your music, and then your how you got started and how that went for you, and then into your collecting of monster stuff and folklore and myths, and all the way down to legend tripping, and why you're into the paranormal and that type of stuff. I really want to touch on that. So whatever you'd like to start with first. Whatever you'd like to start with first, I'd like to hear. And I do have a question I want to answer on the show.
Yeah, do you want to ask now? Let's get it out of the way.
I do, because I think it's really interesting to me, because I could never figure it out. We just were talking a little bit about the 80s and the panic and all that. You guys had an album. Your Look What the Cat Dragged In album was great. We love that. There's a lot of hits on there that will be iconic forever. Now, when Open Up and Say Ah came out, when it hit all the markets, there was an actual picture of a demon looked like a girl with an extremely long tongue, which I have the first press of that, which I called you the other day and I said, oh my God, I found Look What the Cat Dragged In first press. And so I have the first press. Well, second came out, it was just eyes. They changed the whole album cover before they could distribute it. And then they did it again on Flesh and Blood, and they removed the blood from the tattoo. So what was that all about? Because there were albums disgusting out there, and that was mine. Yes. So what's the story?
Yeah, so so my buddy Mark Williams, God rest his soul, built that tongue. Okay. And it was a prosthetic, obviously. Sure. And so we had this model. We did this photo session with this one photographer, and the label said it was too mild. We're like, okay, it just kind of looked like this rock girl with this long tongue and her hair pumped up, and she had very dramatic makeup on, but it wasn't shocking enough. So we went to Niels Lozauer, and Bobby Dahl and I, fellow Floridian, by the way.
Oh, that's good. Hey.
We got his girlfriend, Bambi, and we started doing all those stripes on her and did all this stuff. And she had contacts. We had her get the contacts. And then we just kind of like did her up. Bobby and I did. And then we did that tongue and everything like that. And everybody loved it. Thought it was freaking great, right? And Walmart rejected it. Walmart. So Wally, he was alive at the time, said it was represented a demonic figure and he didn't want it. So we sat down with management and the label, and really at the end of the day, it was like, are we in the album cover business? Or are we in the music business? Like, really, we should be able to just make a green cover or a white cover with nothing and put our music out if that's what we need to do. Our goal is to get our music out. What's our percentage of sales at Walmart? Does it matter? Well, it's 38%, sometimes 40% of your sales. At that time, man, people were just going through Walmart and going, I'm getting my records here. I'm getting my records here. It was cheaper than going to the record store by a certain percentage. So the percentage of people buying records at Walmart was high. And we're like, are we going to throw away 35 to 40% of our market share, getting our music into the hands of fans, or are we going to gripe about and fight with Walmart? And so it just didn't make sense. So they said, we'll just shrink it down like this. And then, blah, blah, blah. And then it became a collector's edition. The ones that had come out on Enigma, because we were still technically with Enigma through Capitol, I believe. So yeah, I have a couple of those versions. Yeah, there it is, man.
That's it, guys. The best
There
one.
it is. But there's a whole full body shots of her too. And she was naked, by the way.
I bet. Yeah. I'm sure it was rock and roll in 1980s. It better.
But it was Bobby's girlfriend. I wasn't allowed to look at her. I'm like, help painting the stripes on them.
But that was the time. My sister was. I was born in the 70s. My sister was born in 1987. So that's when all that was starting to really hit, Brittany. It was like a really good time, and we were really pushing the envelope. And when I tell the young kids today, because I'll be out and about, Ricky, and I'll see guys wearing Poison shirts. And I'll say, you want to name that song? Oh, no, we just thought the logo was cool. So we need to figure out a way, Poison you need to figure out a way to make, that connection again. So I'll tell them, no, man, it's actual music. Look it up. And then you start to go on YouTube now and you see all these people, these young kids doing reactions to 80s rock bands.
Oh, I love those. Yeah.
Isn't that great? When they're out there doing, and you guys really, some of the songs that weren't as big on the radio, I think, in personal opinion, were better than some of the mainstream stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Life Loves a Tragedy is still my favorite Poison song. And it's, awesome, it's a B-side. But I liked it. I like the drums on it. I like, so I'm putting out a book and it comes out July 15th and it's called Ghost Notes. And so it's a double entendre. Okay. Because I love the paranormal space, but Ghost Notes and drumming are something completely different. Okay. Ghost Notes are notes that are sort of grace notes is what they are. Okay. And in the 80s, when we made those first 3 albums, well, actually the third one was in the early 90s. They didn't want grace notes. They just wanted bop, boom, bop, do, 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 do. They wanted very distinct drum parts. Sure. Def Leppard had come out. Mutt Lange did the record, probably programmed most of the drums. And everything was just these gargantuan, huge drums. And if you did grace notes, either you didn't hear it or they didn't want it. And the reason I say you didn't hear it is because they gate that shit out. If you know anything about gates and noise, noise reduction. And so it wasn't until Flesh and Blood where I was allowed to do some by the grace of God. And that's one song. And then when we did Native Tongue, it's all over the place because I finally got granted access. Richie Zito, the producer, is like, go for it. This sounds great. I love it. It gives it a groove. I'm like, finally, I get to like play the way I truly want to play.
It was different. You could tell. You could tell because that album was different.
Yeah, it was.
Like the music was totally different. It was more, to me, it sounded more authentic than overproduced. Not that the other albums weren't great, but that was a really unique album. And I think that's, like you said, some of those songs are overlooked.
Well, like Unskinny Bop has swing to it. And that had like massive amounts of grace notes at first. And I do it live. But
that's why I used it in the ad.
That's Ricky. What oh, nice. I
remember when where I spelt your name wrong the first time. Thank you, spell correct. But yes, when it opens up with Ricky playing the drum, Unskinny Bop. And so I used that tonight because that song, you can just hear him.
Yeah.
Just distinctive.
Yeah. Yes. But anyway, so that's the book. It's coming out. It's all these poignant moments kind of in my life. This light's too bright. That's better, isn't it? Is that better, Britt?
Look, either way, it looks good. How's it look?
The darker the lights, the better I look, Britt. Have a couple drinks. I look great.
It goes for me too.
Drink some vodka, you'll be in love.
There you go.
The book it has all these poignant moments of my life. For the most part, it's not a tell-all book. You know what I mean? Sure. That would be many volumes for one thing. And I'm just like not a kiss and tell guy, you know what I mean? And I'm not, there's not a bunch of dirt in there about my band members. There's some fun stuff in there that people probably don't know.
Well,
But
good.
I'm not going to go after, I don't really go after anybody. That's not my style.
Yeah, I would definitely not. Oh, I mean, yeah, why would you do that? Because, because, a lot of times I think this is even in professionalism. If we're putting a product that Brittany and I are doing TV and we're with a group of our friends, kind of like you and your band, right?
Yeah.
Our internal stuff is not what people want to see. I know that there's this new thing now where everybody wants to see all this, what's going on, this negative side, but what you're selling was an idea, right? Nothing but a good time, basically. I mean, that's one of your songs. And so that idea of that rock band and Wide Open, and that's what it should be remain, because that's what you were. That's
Well,
what you
listen,
project.
the thing is that, our band, I always say that, when people get together, they need to find the common ground that they have, their attitude first. What's my attitude? Because the music will write itself that way. How you do interviews, how you look, everything is going to come from your attitude, right?
Of
And
course.
we come from a very industrial part of Pennsylvania. We were not having nothing but a good time. Okay. So a lot of our songs were projection. You know what I mean? It was like, what would it be like if we could drive down, Sunset Strip and have chicks jump in a convertible and stuff. I had never even been in a convertible in my life up till that point. But we were fantasizing. We were kind of trying to manifest that life. You know what I
Well
mean?
put. That's well put. Yes.
And so, we wrote songs about that relief instead of growing up in really cushy kind of childhood and then complaining about everything, which was I didn't have a bad childhood, don't get me wrong, but it was modest. My dad was a taxi driver. My mom was a telephone operator. I didn't grow up with a bunch of money, but I didn't hate life either. I had love. I had everything I needed. I had a great family. I loved my parents. And,
Awesome.
but you know what I'm saying? Like it was, but we still had to hack it out like everybody else. You know what I mean? And we wanted to write a soundtrack for our live shows. So we would set up in the basement like we were playing a live show and think about what would be like and what would that music sound like and how could we do things that would be interesting on stage to keep people interested and not two guys in the band do a bunch of crazy stuff and one guy just stands there. We wanted like a spectacle, and that was our mantra, and that's what we did. That's what we went after.
Yeah, because some of the people that aren't old enough to remember, there was a lot of competition then too to be out there in that, and it seemed like, I think I could be wrong, but I think a lot of you guys and some of my friends that had bands, when those labels come in, they kind of alter what you are and they try to make you
Yeah, we
run a
didn't have
different
that
way.
problem. We didn't have that problem because we were with an independent label at first, Enigma. And that was their thing. They, kind of the weirder you were, the more attention you got from them. I mean, they had 45 Grave and all these bands, right?
Right.
I think with us, it was like what we were doing was just working. You know what I mean? We didn't listen to anybody. Everybody tone the image down, do this, do that. When we came out here, they had already signed Rat and Motley Crue and all those bands. Okay. They were
Right.
thinking everything was going to be heavy, heavy, heavy. And eventually it got heavy, but like, they had their eye on Keel. They had their eye on
Oh man.
Loudness from Japan. They had, that was what they were going after. And they didn't really like what we were doing. And we're like, look, we're not Motley Crue. I mean, we're more Aerosmith than that. We're more, our stage shows more than, we had a different groove to us. Okay. We were
Sure.
like the New York Dolls on a Van Halen level. Like that's what we were going
That's
for.
pretty awesome.
Right? So, I think, they said, well, you have to have a following. Like, without a following, we don't believe it. We don't believe that it'll work. So we went out and we got a massive following. We worked really hard. one year, like from the day that we said we were going to do that, we got voted #1 biggest draw in Los Angeles and
Right on.
Music
Oh, wow.
Connection magazine. And then they had another excuse. They said, well, yeah, maybe in LA that works, but that's not going to work in the Midwest. And we're like, well, every time we play Arizona or we go other places, we do really good. We go back to Pennsylvania on the East Coast, we do good. We do good in Maryland. We do good in New York. Like, what more do you want? Give us a poster, a record, and a tour, and we'll take over the world. I promise you. And finally, somebody took a chance on us because everybody else had said,
Awesome.
no, we're not doing it. You know, Warner Brothers, everybody turned us down. You know what I mean? And so I hear some of these people say, oh, this one A&R person from this record company was awesome. And it's got to all of them. You know?
Exactly.
They didn't sign us, so I couldn't care less about anybody in the music business. Capitol was the only record label that eventually took a chance on us.
Right.
And that was a really great group of people there that really they didn't know what to do with us at first. You know, I mean, this is a label that had Iron Maiden, but they had Duran Duran too, and Skinny Puppy, and they're like, well, where do these guys fit in? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're like, let's just let us do what we do, man. Let the audience pick us.
And
We're not going to go out, man. What's that? Yeah, they did.
They actually did.
And that's what I always tried. People say, hey, what advice would you give, younger musicians? Let your audience pick you, man. Don't look at these demographics. It's just like they say this about movies and TV shows where they're going to run all these demographics. If it worked, everything would be successful because they do it with everything.
It's hard. You do. But you know what's hard for me
True.
what's hard for me to understand is that, I mean, I lived it. So I know what you guys are doing. And to this day, to jump ahead, anytime, like when I'm in LA or down in Miami and you go to any of these stores that are rock stores, Poison is all over everything. Iron Maiden is all over everything. Def Leppard. I mean, anytime you go in, it's you guys are just a huge name. And I remember being a kid. You remember the old days where they'd lock in the roller rink?
Yeah,
Oh,
we played
man.
roller rinks.
Oh,
Dude,
my
we
God.
played. That was some of our first gigs. We
Well, they-
rent freaking roller rinks.
And you
I'm
guys,
not kidding. It was great.
and they would do the music, and it was always,
Yeah.
they'd always come up with they'd play "Every Rose Has Its Thorn" with a slow dance. That's when they move all the guys over, and like I don't know what women got. They got some balls because some of the women that would try to skate with you, you had to suck it up and be a man. We all know what I'm talking about.
Oh man, you had to shoot the duck. Is what the hell you had to do.
Exactly. Oh my God! But like, all right, everybody, everybody's had a heartbreaker. Every rose has its thorn, and then
Oh my
the next
God.
thing you know, they're wide open with. But one of the songs I think that you really stuck out with a lot of people. I see it resonate. I'm from Florida, and I'm a biker. Motorcycles has been a part of my blood, and there's a lot of history of that for me. We'll get into it one day, but you guys wrote a song called "Ride the Wind," and every single time that plays at any event or any rally, it just gets people fired up because I think the way it was presented, the way you guys projected it, was exactly the way you feel when you're riding. And I think that's if you don't ride, you're never gonna know, guys. Closest you'll get is that song.
Brett and I would go on the Love Ride every year out here. I don't know if you know what the Love Ride was.
I don't. I love to hear about it.
Huge ride that would start at Glendale Harley Davidson, end up at the Easy Riders Ranch. I mean, everybody started to do it. It got great. Peter Fonda led it one year. I mean, it was
wow,
off the chain.
Amazing.
So it was, I think cancer or muscular dystrophy or something. But it was to see everybody in the motorcycle community come together, whether they were hardcore MCs or whether they were just weekend guys or whatever it was. Nobody started shit with nobody. It was just a
mutual ground,
really good, solid time. So when we did that early on, 88 and stuff like that. In 89, I went to Sturgis. Okay. Took a motorcycle, went to Sturgis with some buddies. And we were at literally right at that time at the peak of our career. We had done our first headlining tour. We had been out there for 16 and a half months. I didn't even know what, I came home and everything had changed. Like houses went up. You were in suspended animation when you were on a tour like that, right?
Yeah.
I came back and I went to Sturgis for a week and slept on the ground in a tent at the Fish and Fry campground. shared food with bikers. Some of these guys were old saddle tramps. Nobody knew
Yeah.
who I was. You know, they didn't know and they didn't care. It wasn't until the very, very last day that somebody recognized who I was. And I started to sign something. And then somebody went, well, I thought that might be him. It must be if he's signing something. And then it started a landslide. And there was these dudes from Pennsylvania, my home state, called the Land Pirates. And those guys like ran block for me. They're like, dude, we're going to get you into a bar. We're going to have a good time. We're not going to let anybody. I'm like, none of these people are awesome. Don't get rough with them. They're no. We're just going to make sure that, you have a good time and, you're not just signing shit the rest of the time. And hi, Ange.
Yep, they cop up here. They're coming in. They're saying hello. Hello, Ange.
So anyway, it was just kind of like I needed that at that time because I had been for years just in poison mode, just promoting the band, playing shows, thinking about what I'm going to wear in the next video, like what trick I'm going to try to do on stage. Like everything was all about Poison and the band and all that. And for the first time in years, it was just about me and the road and like hanging out and like living those words to ride the wind, like truly living those words, you know what I mean? And so I just think I've like committed to that, like kind of like for the rest of my life. Hi, Michelle. Am I allowed to say hi to people or am I?
You can say whoever you want. Yeah, it's interactive. It's just why I stream. A lot of people, they're like, oh, why don't you do this a podcast? Well, I upload it later. This is a live interaction so people can really just kind of get to know. I mean, there's so many different things out there and it's good to hear it from anything for that matter. They do it to us too. I mean, some of the questions we get are, we all have to deal with the ridicule online because obviously now that the new way of everybody has a voice kind of thing isn't as like it was.
Yeah.
So
not everybody should have an opinion. I'm one of them. I shouldn't have an opinion, but I mean,
I think we forget there's a difference between, in my opinion, there's a difference. Well, it's not an opinion. I think this is a fact. There's a difference between an opinion and just somebody being a troll.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Going out. I mean, you can say, look, Rikki, I've looked into this story. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I have a question. Then you have an intellectual, professional conversation. When it comes into making fun of us or, oh, God, there's Brittany again, Bigfoot dick or whatever the jokes they make or, oh, it's the Bigfoot whore. I think that's great. Keep talking about us because the more you talk about us, the bigger you make us.
Yeah.
Let me at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Go for it, Rikki. Go. We'll call
it's just really, yeah, it's really
between him and I. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
golden.
That's right.
And we're at that point where,
what do you only let good-looking girls in here? Like every one of them.
This
is
is
like
everybody
Instagram
who's on. Anybody that pops up the first time they come in, it pops up. I put it on. I only let good-looking girls. No, we have a great following because we have a really good.
Oh my God.
We have a really good genre.
Hi, Erica.
Yeah, Erica's a great person too. We have a good genre: monsters, rock and roll, and myths. I mean, how could you? What else is there?
I know, right?
I mean,
motorcycles.
That too.
Do you ride, Brittany?
I don't. I ride passenger very well.
Yeah. Well, let's go for a ride sometime.
Yeah.
Let's go to LA and do it. I wanted to ask you too. Yeah. You have that bike, the Harley Davidson Enduro, correct?
Yes, I have. I have two.
Love that
Harley.
thing?
I have six motorcycles right now. I know. You're talking about
4 of them. I think I got 4.
Good. 4 and maybe more. Yeah, man. The Pan America is awesome. It's a great bike. I have the Pan American. I have a Lowrider ST in the tobacco fade.
Really? Is that a color?
Yes.
It's called tobacco fade.
Yes, it looks like an old Gibson guitar. It's freaking awesome.
I looked at it when it first came out and I saw it on the show. I'm like, this is amazing because sometimes, like I have my biggest one's an FLTR. So I have a big road glide.
Which is really pretty.
Yeah, it's badass. It's the Harley Davidson orange with the metallic. I love it. but you can't go off road with that, Ricky. And some of the stuff,
Not this one. That
No,
is not an off-road bike.
no, that's
But
yours.
I do have
No,
I do
that's
have
your
a
bike.
Pan America and I have a Ducati Desert X, and both those bikes are excellent off-road. So
Yeah, listen, if you guys follow him at Rikki
Body.
Rockett on Instagram, he posts a lot of that stuff.
He
You play
does.
around with the big Broncos. You love that thing too, don't you? You got a pretty
I
badass
do.
Bronco too.
yeah, yes. I'm looking at
Yeah.
that Grenadier. I want to go test drive one of those. They're
I think
pretty
it's
cool.
cool.
looking.
You're like you
Yeah.
collect toys. Like I love that stuff. Me too.
Yeah.
I like muscle cars.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I have a really nice Challenger with Scat Pack, and it's of course
Nice.
it's sublime green.
It
And I
is
took my
something
sister
else.
out in it last night for Christmas. We're gonna go
Mopar
play
or
with
no
it.
car?
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, dude. We almost pulled 1G.
We did.
Really?
It was
Yes.
awesome. It
was
tells you your
legit.
G-force on acceleration. It was 0.97.
And you
And
can
he was like,
feel it.
"Oh," it was great. It was great.
I was like,
Good
well,
stuff.
I just went to Mars and came back. That was great. It was awesome. It was
You know,
really
it's one
cool.
of those things, and yeah, we had a good time with that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that type of stuff is really fun. And then Ricky, we get to do what you do, and we're fortunate. We're with a great company. Anomaly took us in and really put out a good thing, and travel around and look for monsters. I mean, whether they're
So
there or
cool.
not, it's still fun to look, and that's what I try to tell people. It's not.
Yes,
What's up? What's up,
It
Marissa?
is. Hi, Marissa. Yeah, I mean, it's the journey, right? And I definitely want to talk about all that. I do want to promote my new band, though, the Rocket Mafia, because
Do it.
get-
Let's do it.
when I'm done with this, I immediately run next door to my garage and go into rehearsal with these guys.
Oh,
I'm excited.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that, still.
Yeah,
Appreciate you
no,
taking
I
time for
do.
us.
They wanted to start at 5. I'm like, it's got to be 6. I'm like, no problem. So,
Oh my God. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you came in because this is good and people get to see a lot of different things. And I think that I'd like to hear that. And legend tripping, you're really into that. And Brittany is really into Bigfoot. And I'd like to know your opinions on that type of stuff. For me, I'm still
yeah, so let's talk about it.
a little skeptical.
The thing that as a legend tripper, okay, so let me just explain what that is first, okay.
Sure.
I kind of it's more of urban legend oriented, which a lot of urban legends are based in paranormal, ghosts, things like that, but not all. A lot of them are cryptids and all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
It's folklore, okay, that modern folklore, as it were, and so I go into all those things with an open mind, just going like, okay, let's just, I'm just going to make something up. Let's say there's a headless horseman that appears at a cemetery at 2 a.m. every November 12th. Okay. Well, I'm going to go at 2 a.m. on November 12th and sit in that graveyard and wait for that headless horseman to appear. Non-judgmentally, I just want to open myself up to that. Camera there, everything ready to go, ready to either see it, feel it, hear it, measure it, whatever it is. Okay.
Sure.
The secondary part of it is I want to know where that came from, especially if
Mhm.
I don't see anything happen. Well, where the hell did this come from?
Right.
Or if I did see something, where did this all come from? There's always a backstory, right? Sometimes the backstory is this big, and sometimes it's this big. Like
Sure.
the hook hand in Texarkana, Texas. The hook hand thing where they go out, necking, and the guy goes for gas because the car's out of gas and he never comes back. And then she hears a scraping on the roof. You've heard this urban legend, and it's the hook hand killer got it. Well, that was really true in Texarkana, Texas. That was a true string of murders. It just occurred a little bit differently, but equally as weird. Okay. And so that's a big urban legend that has spawned all kinds of other urban legends, just like Gacy has, spawned, Texas Chainsaw and all kinds of things. There's always a root of some. Almost always there's a root of some reality. There's talk about bridges, bridges in the United States and in Europe. There's always something where something's hiding under a bridge, or a headless person's walking on a bridge, or something. There's millions of urban legends
Sure.
about bridges, but it started in like 1500s, like, in Scotland and stuff, that's where, and they've bridged, you see what I did there, over to the United States and other places. So it's, even if there's nothing like supernatural, the story compels me. Like, where the hell did it come from? For God's sakes, where did this crazy idea come from? How many crazy things have come from? Let's just talk about the Amityville Horror.
Oh,
Let's just go to the real murders that happened in the Amityville Horror.
exactly.
Okay. Like,
Crazy.
forget about the ghost stuff for a minute. I mean, that in itself is insane. Right. And there was I just went, my son just graduated from a school in Utah, and we went there. I was there last week. And the day I got there, a whole family that night, of course, I'm in town, gets murdered right near Salt Lake, right? The whole family found dead, mother, father, 3 kids, the son, 17, wounded in the garage with a brain injury, couldn't even articulate anything to the police. And so they found the whole, I mean, almost like Terrifier, the opening scene, like what the hell happened here? And so that's another, if you think about it, that's as bad as Amityville Horror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same kind of murders. But what happened was, apparently the father killed the whole family. Who knows why? Shot the son, and he managed to escape. And then the dad killed himself. But the son lived, at least for now. Can you imagine what that would be like, man? I mean, I'm laughing and it's not funny. It's my way of
But it's
dealing
funny
with
that the
how tragic
idiocracy is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I get it.
I mean, it's just it's like, wow. And
I mean,
this
all kinds of
shit
legends
happened.
like that. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
starts something small. Marissa was talking about talk about beliefs in
Mhm.
creature folklore, and even discuss many of these stories. So, a background on her is
Fun fact.
she's actually a doctor, and she works with crocodiles and police, and she kind of deals with the crocodile human conflict and situations where you kill things because you don't know what it is, or it comes from a
Yeah.
myth, or we got to kill these because they kill this, and it's not the case at all. A lot of times, like you said, it becomes a legend or a myth, and then it turns into something bigger. So,
Well, you know what?
kind
She's
of
got
she
a
was
good
talking about.
point. To teach a fact, to teach a lesson. Okay. That, let's go back to Texarkana, Texas. That was proliferated in a huge way in so many movies, so many things. 2 people in a car making out and get killed. I mean, this happens.
Right.
It was especially in the 50s. Okay. That was almost to scare couples from copulating. Okay.
Mhm.
Is
In that
what it
era.
was. Okay. Now, did it happen a couple times? It did. It happened a couple times. But they were trying to freak everybody out. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
the
You mean like
Christian.
reefer madness?
Yes, exactly. Like the reefer madness of sex. Yeah. Like, don't have sex in a car with somebody, and
You'll
it's
get hooked.
and drive-ins. I mean, how many drive-in movies
Yeah.
have people been, I
Especially in the 80s. I don't think there was an 80s movie that didn't open up with that ever.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
it was like, that's like cult following there. Like,
Yeah.
everybody was in the middle
Don't
of
go to
doing
a horror
something they
movie.
shouldn't have done, or
That's
whatever they were saying,
drive-in.
and then they get slaughtered.
I'd love to get slaughtered at a drive-in in a movie. I think that'd be awesome. So, if
As long
there's
as you were just
anybody
in the
out-
movie.
That needs to be like the casting spot for Ricky. It's like, no,
Yeah,
Ricky said he
yeah,
wants his position, so we got a
He
guy.
wants to die in
want
that
to
movie.
mess around with somebody and just get offed,
In the movie. Definitely in the movie. Not for real, folks. He has children.
Well,
Well,
in some cases too, with like a lot of these accounts, like Ricky's talking about, is like you'd get the copycats. So like you wouldn't have an incident in like years, but you'd still hear the legends, and then it would happen again, and then it would stir up all that frenzy of that urban legend again, and then people are like, "Oh my god!" But it was just a copycat who fell in love with an original incident and then wanted to replicate it and be this like, "I'm the new one," and then it spawns this whole new legend that comes out of it. And you're like, "Holy shit, we don't need the copycats."
Right. Well, listen, Bigfoot, because I know you're big into Bigfoot. Literally the
Ooh.
biggest
Can't you
urban
tell?
legend in the world.
Yes.
I mean, you don't
Yeah.
get any bigger than Bigfoot, period. I mean,
Mm-mm.
Bigfoot at this point, it's like, whether you believe it or not, Bigfoot is always going to be with us. Okay,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like it's like Santa. Believe
Especially
in
in my
Santa or
family.
not, you're always going to see Santa. Okay, and
Yep.
people are always going to believe in Santa. So get used to it.
So the Santa that we know,
I'm getting a shirt that says that.
so the Santa that we know, wasn't that just a Coca-Cola? So that was a Coca-Cola ad from Montgomery Ward in the 1930s, I believe. That's the Santa that
Yeah,
we
the
know.
way he looks.
That's not the
Yeah.
Santa our great grandparents grew up with.
Right.
No, that's not Saint Nick. That's
Mm-mm.
not Krampus.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Is it crazy?
Exactly.
You know, I was going to tell you,
Oh.
Ricky, I want to touch on this, man, because you know you've done some investigations. I've been out with Brittany. I've done a lot of things. When they flew us into British Columbia in the middle of nowhere, and Justin and I stayed for hours up, that we had to take air traffic to get there and dropped off. The density of those forests. I mean, so here's a little fact. Yes, we use heat reading cameras and infrared and all that kind of stuff. But you know, you can't see a polar bear with those. They're so insulated, you cannot see them. They'll be up on you before. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that this is real or not real. I'm saying that if Sasquatch or whatever they call them up there, Bigfoot, whatever they want to call it for layman term, had the ability to be insulated that way, you're not going to see them unless they're directly at you, right? So they could cover themselves and watch. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could happen because of the density. And I always hear this, well, we have technology now with, yes, you have technology where you can look at people in the city when they're out walking around in open air. But some of those areas, you can't even get internet into there.
Mm-mm.
Well, you have to find it first.
Right. And it's so
You know,
dense.
You don't
When we were
just aim at the
in-
general direction.
Bro,
Exactly.
when we were flying in, each
Exactly.
side of the airplane, when you look out, it didn't look real. You'd think you were in a program. It was just these little white pyramid looking things till you couldn't see anymore.
Yeah.
No
Right,
human.
right.
So when they try to tell you that the Earth is overpopulated, that's bullshit too. There's plenty of we're overpopulated in areas because
Yeah.
there is.
I'm moving in with Bigfoot, dude. I'm tired of this apartment complex.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly right. Or too much.
Exactly.
And I really think that there's a lot to be said about that. So I'm not going to say that I don't believe in it. I want a little more evidence to see. I'm not saying that it did or never did exist. Like where Brittany thinks it's here all the time. For me, I just think I'd like to see it. And to be honest with you, and I'll tell you, if I saw it, I would never tell anyone. For one, I don't want to hurt. And if it is some sort of government thing that they're protecting, they just off you, I don't want to disappear. So it's just going to be an intimate moment between me and that creature, and I'm going home. That's it.
Intimate. Okay.
I'm okay with that though, because then
That's a
I'll
shirt.
finally have my justification.
And
of, like,
intimate with
what Bigfoot
Bigfoot.
is.
Get intimate with Bigfoot.
That sounds like an Old Spice ad. Like
It does.
it does. Get intimate with Bigfoot.
I don't know
I'm
about that,
putting
Marissa.
Old Spice on Bigfoot.
I'm
That
telling
way I
you,
can
when you
find him
see
the
him.
next time. Yes.
You know, Bobcat did a really good movie about that Bigfoot, the Ruby Creek. That was pretty cool.
Mhm.
The end was really terrifying. Bobcat
You know,
Goldfoot, I think.
the first time I learned about Bigfoot was a documentary called, it was like a docudrama called The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yep. That's
And
a good one.
I saw it at the movie theater in Mechanicsburg, a matinee. Me and my buddy Lee Kramer went to that. And I was like, wow, this is wild. And they got video of this guy, you know what I mean? And all this stuff. And I think that definitely had a huge impact on me, without a doubt.
And I think that's what Bobcat did when he made that one off of that. And they went back in to look. And then in the end, this Bigfoot was actually stealing women. Did you see it?
No.
You have to see that movie, bro. Like, if I thought that poor woman, it's like, was Blair Witchy in the end. And
Right.
you see this totally naked girl standing by this massive squatch. And he was just taking the women and killing the men out there. And that's because there's theories on that. There's theories on that.
There are theories, yeah.
So I'm thinking, can you imagine this 8-foot beast just dragging you by your ankles through the terror in your mind? I mean, as a person is just.
Well, and to go back what you said too, like if you see it, you don't want to tell anybody. There's still many indigenous tribes and people and communities that will refuse to tell you where the Sasquatch are because they're very protective of them. They feel that they are the forest king spirits that watch over all of the animals and them. So like in the greater Yukon, They have a lot of locations where they know that they are, but they won't allow anybody in to see them. Like they will question you and drill you and ask you, why do you want to know? Like, why do you want to see them? Why do you want to know? And they'll misdirect you into a different area. They're very protective. And I just find that very fascinating to me.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
Well, everything we know has been pretty much about any of it in the world itself. I mean, think about all that stuff that they're saying before. Now there's all kinds of stuff coming out. I mean, on Christmas Day, the CIA just released all that stuff about Mars. I mean, what the fuck is that on Christmas Day?
Because they know it'll be overlooked. They know they can release shit out on a day where nobody's really paying attention to news. No one's really paying. They're like, we released it. We're sorry you missed it, but we did put it out there. But it's like on Christmas Day, none of us are out looking for this shit on Christmas Day. Like, what a great way to put it out there,
Right.
Well, we've been getting a little carried away.
I mean, so to get back to legend tripping, I mean, I've never, I'm with TAPS, right? I'm with TAPS West Coast, but I'm the least ghost hunter of the whole group, probably. And I think they like that. I think they think that's cool that I come from that perspective. They're not afraid of it. And I'll do I'll do whatever you want me to do, with TAPS. If they, they want me to put headphones on and, blindfold myself and do all that I'll do it. Whatever you want to try, I'll try it. I'll sit in a dark house for a while. Whatever we need.
That's pretty fun though. I like that.
But I don't consider myself necessarily a ghost chaser. You know what I mean? Right. I don't.
Sure.
I've been fascinated. I mean, if you could see my wall, I've got so many encyclopedias of the supernatural. I've been reading about this stuff forever. And a lot of people say to me like, well, are you religious? And it's like, no, not really. But you believe that. Well, I don't necessarily, I'm kind of like you, Troy. I don't necessarily believe anything necessarily. Right. I'm open to things is the difference. And that doesn't make me superior or, I think I'm great. I'm just telling you, I'm open to things. That sometimes that's not good. Sometimes it is good. But I think it works for me because it allows me to try to continue to look for tools to discover things. I do think there are unexplained things, period. Okay. And I think there is residual hauntings. Now, let me break that down for a second. Because when you say residual hauntings, you're right away admitting that you believe in ghosts and believe that there's hauntings. What I mean is there is phenomenon in many places where people have died or some major thing has occurred. Okay. And what is that is what I'm wondering about. I don't know that it could be measured with the current instrumentation we have. I don't know if it's electric current. It could be consciousness. We can't really define what consciousness is, right?
Right.
I mean, scientists, physicists argue about this all the time. What is consciousness? Do we really have free will? All this stuff, right? And then we start to talk about quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and is there one little level here and one little level here, and once in a while something pokes a little down here, and this notices it and goes, "What the hell was that?" Maybe that is the answer. I'm not sure. Maybe it all sits in string theory a little bit. I think physics will answer what ghost phenomenon is. And let's just throw away the ghost title for a second. But that phenomenon where you have an overwhelming feeling about somebody that has passed in that building or house or that place, and you can feel what they may have felt or their distress and in that moment is, because God, there was that guy at NYU that was doing these brain scans, right? And days after the person was dead, those cells are still lighting up, right? So does that mean we have consciousness that long? I hope not. Okay. At least not to the level where I'm like, hey, I'm stuck inside this thing. And,
God, how horrible.
Yeah, right. But I mean, let's
Oh,
just take a really nasty example. What if somebody got their head blown off against the wall, and their consciousness cells, or can you
are stuck on
connect
the
to
wall.
that? Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just spitballing here because I'll try to figure I'm open to just say, no, there was not phenomenon like that. That's illogical. There's no
Mhm.
way that we can figure that out. Okay. Science really is what did I see? I was Neil
For
deGrasse
sure.
Tyson
Lordy.
was talking about something in
Mhm.
a podcast a few days ago. He didn't come up with this, okay, but he quoted
Touched
it.
on it.
No science achieves maturity without a system of measurement, right? So it is hard for us to make it a science when we don't know how to measure what any of this stuff yet. We think we do.
Mhm.
Oh, an EMF meter, or you can hear something with a really good sensitive recorder, or something turns a flashlight on, which I'm not sure about that stuff. But it would be wonderful if we could have some system of measurement for this type of thing. And I
Mhm.
think one day we will. Will be with quantum computers, where we can really get those questions answered. And I really think that we will. I don't think we're that far off from figuring out truly what psychic phenomenon is, what ghosts are, what residual hauntings are. I don't think this stuff is evil. Number one, I don't think it's evil. I don't think Ouija boards are evil. That came after people saw The Exorcist. I don't think any of this stuff is it really, it
So
did.
true.
I mean,
So
nobody
true. I know. I
thought about.
remember. I remember.
I
Talk
just
about urban legends.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the spirit she was talking to was Captain Howdy. Captain Howdy is the font set on a Ouija board. That's where he got that from. You know what I mean?
Isn't
It's
that
not.
crazy, Brittany? And then they
Yeah,
That's
just blow it up.
hilarious.
I collect
Yep.
those, Ricky.
I do
So
too. I've got a ton of. I just made this on a 3D printer.
well,
You're
I
gonna
find them
love
from like the
this.
1950s, and
I
sometimes in
love
these.
it. Oh, wow.
Now I have
And
to
That's
I
buy the
really
painted it.
engineer,
cool.
Ricky.
I painted it to look wooden.
Yeah.
Signed it.
Now he's gonna have to make you
Now
one for him.
I'm gonna have to have one of those and print my own. He's opened up a new debt for me.
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
make one for you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Oh,
cool. I do collect them. And sometimes I find them like really cool ones, and then I'll find these
like
old ones,
vintage.
where it looks like they've been dipped in coffee. And they've been
Oh, I
played
love
by teenagers from the 1950s. I have one from 1958. I keep in my hallway, as in my haunted hallway, because my house is all haunted. Like, it's all painted dark, it's black, and I collect things from everywhere we go like that. And so when you mention that,
Well, you are evil, so that's a whole nother thing. No, I'm
that's
kidding.
true. That's true. That's what they say. That's what they say. But yeah, I totally love
Oh.
the aspect that you just brought to this, because I never even thought about that. Uh, your consciousness being long blown on the side of a wall. I mean, that may make people feel sick inside, but I mean, we don't really understand that. And I,
No, we
it
don't.
goes back to where you get a body part from someone else. Like Ricky donates an organ. Now the fucking
Yeah.
kid's a drummer in 2 months, and he never touched a drum in his life. And that's been happening. And I've read stuff like
That
that.
has
And I
happened.
couldn't
Yeah.
believe it,
Yes. Yeah. No, I know.
because and that's where I believe there's DNA memory. I think there's just DNA
Yes.
memory. That's
Yes, and I think that might be
great
why
grandfather looked just
people.
like that.
Right. I think that's why a lot of people. Why thank you for saying that, because if you pass down genes, okay,
Uh-huh.
why can't you pass down some of that consciousness? This may be why people will sit there and they go, "Oh my God!" For just a second, I thought I feel like I was in like the 14th century and I was a knight or something. Maybe you were, and that little piece of DNA got passed down, and that's part of the consciousness. It's not completely uh, non-plausible. You know
Sky's
what
the
I
limit.
mean? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
I'm
Well,
lost
dreams.
for words
Like
tonight, by the
dreams.
way.
Like
Yeah.
when you leave your body, they think sometimes, when some beliefs that when you go to sleep, you're going to another dimension,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
come back to your mortal one and start over again. Like, you have to get out and recharge. Because if you
Well,
really
dude,
think about sleeping, that's weird to me.
it is weird.
If you
Very weird.
nobody really
And you're
stops and thinks
vulnerable.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I'm going to
vulnerable.
sleep.
I mean, listen, everything can alter consciousness. Okay. Sleeping can, going under anesthesia can, meditation can. And I don't
Mhm.
want to sound hippy dippy or something, but like this higher consciousness thing that you hear about or you heard about way long ago, where somebody can actually find a higher consciousness by meditation and stuff like that. I do believe it's true because think about it. If you, what I've come to understand what dreams truly are. Okay. You have your consciousness, your subconscious, and then you have that other consciousness that is like where a car is going by, but you're not noticing it because you're focused on something else, or
Sure.
the dog's eating out of a bowl and making a noise and this and that. You're not paying attention. It's like a peripheral consciousness. And then when you sleep, all these things try to make sense of each other. Your brain tries to make sense of all this stuff that you shoved into it all day long. And that's
Right.
why, you'll have a rabbit, running away with like a hatchet, or, it's stuff that doesn't make
Oh yeah,
sense.
you can't run or speak.
Yeah, right. All that. So I
And
think
then sometimes they're great. Sometimes
yeah,
you don't want
sometimes
to
they're
wake
great.
up. Like
Right.
lucid dreaming. That's one of the coolest things to be able to really study and do. And
Yes.
I would, there's so much to that. I mean, look how it never ends. I mean, this,
I was so fortunate one time. I mean, it was 20 some years ago. I was on a flight and they bumped me up to first class. And I remember just all of a sudden this guy sitting beside me. And it turns out that he was the guy that invented the little machine to help with lucid dreaming. And he's showing me the prototype. And maybe it was 25 years ago now. I don't even know now.
Wow.
And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, let me explain what lucid dreaming is. And he had a book and he goes, I'll send you one. He never did. But that was his thing. He wrote a book about it. He made a device. He did it was, and then a couple of years later, that's all I heard about was lucid dreaming. I'm like, the guy on the flight,
how about
Yeah.
that?
I've had prolific shit happen to me on flights, by the way.
That's
Like
awesome.
I gotta tell you this one story really quick as a sidebar. I'm on a flight and there's a pilot next to me and he was just on a layover. And I said, man, I get nervous sometimes and on flights. And he goes, oh, don't be nervous. And he's explaining to me how everything functions and there's backups and there's all this stuff. And I said, well, that's why. I said, what happened? I said, I used to be an EMT. I said, what if somebody cases on a flight, like literally they have a heart attack or something like that? What do you do? What's your first protocol? And he said, we try to find somebody on board that can help. But the first thing we do is try to find the next city that we can land and get him help right away. He said, I've never had it happen. I've been flying for 23 years. And I said, wow, that's great. So we talk and blah, blah, blah. We pull into LAX and they gate the front of the plane off. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? He leans over, starts talking to me. He goes, I'm never sitting with you again. A guy just had a heart attack. And in 23 years, no one's ever had a heart attack on a flight I've been on. And you asked me about it, and the guy had a heart attack. I was like,
Oh
oh my
my
God.
God,
I'm
dude.
bad luck, man. Yeah.
So you manifested that thing. I'd be like, we're not flying with Rikki tonight. We're going to catch the next flight.
Yes. Don't fly with me.
I
That's
think you
awesome,
fly,
though.
fly the friendly skies, right?
That's right. Have a heart attack for you. That's funny you say that because I think about that stuff sometimes. Like, what if it was me or what if it was somebody else that had that and you're on that flight? That's terrible.
Mhm.
I mean, they got to have some sort of devices to help somebody, or is your consciousness going to be on that plane, as you stated earlier?
Hey, when it's a bumpy ride and you got to pee, it sucks. I mean, come on, imagine being like really sick, right? So,
Bumpy
Mhm.
rides are the worst.
yeah, they are.
Those
Don't get
drop
right
out of this.
started.
I hate
You
that
know.
stuff because we had an engine catch on fire when I left Orlando one time. We had to do an emergency landing in Jacksonville. I remember looking out and seeing all this black smoke and this little red puffs shooting out the side, bro. And they dropped altitude like we were at Elitch's or some shit, some crazy ass
Elitch's.
roller coaster place, And I'm like, what? Why can't we just kind of come down? Why do we have to drop like that? I didn't want to get back in the plane again. And those types of things. Listen,
Dude,
I
long time ago, I dated this girl in Salem I'm not making this up.
love Salem.
and we had a day off on tour, and I flew to Boston, and then from Boston to Salem. It's a little puddle jumper, right? And it was horrible, horrible weather. We literally saw lightning. My drum tech was with me. Literally saw lightning hit the freaking wing, and it just kind of went like this.
No way, bro.
It hit it. It hit it. It just did this number and went right back. Like it just knocked it sideways for a second. And I asked the pilot about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember a little bump like that." And I went, "Are you kidding me?"
A little bump.
You know? Yeah, it freaked me out. It freaked me out. I was like, and I'm on my way to Salem. Like, I think I'll rent a car and drive to the next gig.
Probably a better view. I know. You feel like that. And then you get on, you're like, oh, cool. Brittany and I were flying back in. As a matter of fact, when we were just got done filming, we were flying in, I believe, to Seattle. Right? And we have the crew. Our film crew was the crew that films Deadliest Catch.
Yep.
Like, we're pretty cool, Ricky. We're pretty cool. We got good guys working for us. Like,
yeah, do.
They took care of us on Discovery. So they're sitting. Brittany's like 2 rows up. It's me and Justin. 2 rows up. I see Brittany. Here's the whole crew. The plane, bro, is going all the way like this. Like, when I mean sideways, I mean like I'm looking down and Brittany's way up there. And then I'm looking down at her like this as we're coming into the runway. And the one guy says, you know, the one dude, Carlos, he goes, "No, man, this reminds me of being on the ship, Deadliest Catch, man. This is quite a ride." I'm like, "This sucks. Don't make jokes about it because this sucks." Everybody's like got their fingernails and like, they're sitting there praying, and they're just like, "Ooh," and it just drops this way, and then it drops this way, and then down. Like,
dude,
like
have you watched Masters of the Air? The series Masters of the Air.
Is it going to make me not want to fly, Ricky?
No, it's so amazing because, you know, my uncle was, you know, a reconnaissance photographer. He did 144 missions over enemy territory in the 40s, you know, when he was with the Army Air Corps. And that's, I mean, it's basically in this show, they're in Germany, like going over in Germany. He was in the South Pacific, but those planes, man, I mean, you have to understand, man, that's the really thin metal. And it was freezing cold. They're up at these high levels. And, you know, the bullets would come through, shrapnel, and it would open up these holes. And now you're, not only is it cold, but now you're at whatever, like 60 below or something. Yeah,
sure.
Or freezing. A lot of these guys had their feet freeze and stuff like that. They can't even like walk when they'd have to like spend 48 hours literally to try to thaw out. It's an incredible show. It's really good. And it's a little bit glamorized, but
where's it at? Where can you
I think it was on like HBO or something like
I'll
that.
Pick it up. Okay.
I'm not quite sure.
Well, we're on Max now, so hey, you know, let's not forget that. Ricky's got a book coming out. We're doing Lost Monster Files, and maybe sometime we'll be doing something with you.
I hope so. That would be great. That'd be great. I mean, we're at least I'd love to come back and talk more. I have so much more to say. I'm sure you do. I love both of you. And
thank you.
We love you, Ricky.
And you know, and I just I wanted it to work out before. It didn't, but the future is bright. That's how
the time weren't right. The time wasn't right. You know, and like I said earlier, we were very lucky because at the time we were doing all this stuff, it just came out of nowhere. And we just had someone in our court, you know, Mike, he's a great guy. And he actually, he pulled a miracle off. I mean, people don't really realize how hard it was to make TV in a time of streaming. I mean, it's a tough thing. And we got to get a good product out. And I know that
I'm just a YouTube bum. So, you know.
Oh, my
Ricky.
Okay, a YouTube bum.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you can find Ricky all over YouTube, and it isn't just in legend tripping. Guys should see some of the videos. These guys are great. For those of you that don't know Poison because you're too young and you just see the emblem or you wear it on a t-shirt, you really need to research it, look it up, look at some of the stuff. There's some really cool things. These guys were pioneers. I mean, it's a time I'll never forget, Ricky. And all I can say is thank you for giving us that being part of something that we had to look forward to. I'm telling you, man, I don't know if I would have made it.
So this year will be heavy doses of Rocket Mafia for me. My new little side band, Mick Sweeta from the Bullet Boys, if you remember the Bullet Boys.
100%.
He's a guitar player. And my buddy Brian Kimes from Maryland is playing bass. And Brandon Gibbs, who was with my first side band that I ever had, Devil City Angels, he's the singer. He actually filled in with Poison for 5 shows. So he's super good.
Wow.
But anyway, so we'd be doing that. And then in 26, it'll be all Poison for a whole year. You know,
So
'cause we haven't
26, you
done-
guys are going to tour again.
yeah. We haven't done
you're gonna
anything
do it.
since the stadium tour with Motley and Def Leppard.
And it rained like hell. I was there.
Oh, it did rain, didn't it?
Remember that? And then Brett was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're coming out in the rain," and you're all out there standing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"These guys got it." A lot of the other bands were hiding, but you guys killed it. And you know, I remember my cousin taking me to your shows in the '80s, man. So it was really weird to be an old guy with someone who.
You know what? Too, we did.
Watching you guys play, bro.
Somebody said, you know, oh, you got the COVID shot, and I don't know what you thought. You know, we had to get shots, right?
I know they made you. I never did
yeah.
because I almost died with COVID, Ricky.
I had to get it for my work, so I got
never
you,
took
Ricky.
the shot. I had to do
So
plasma
anyway,
transplant.
so I did it, which was, you know, I mean, you know, I'm a cancer patient because of what I went through. So they say you're always a patient, right? So we did the shot, and we did 44 shows, and we met 100 people each night. Okay, so that's 4,400 people I met.
Yeah.
And I never got COVID. And they're like, well, you should do what Def Leppard does or whatever, where they, you know, you stand back and the people come file in and you say hi. And I'm like, I didn't get a shot so that I couldn't touch anybody.
Right.
I got a shot and they tested so I could touch them. I'm hugging these motherfuckers,
Right.
you know what I mean? And I never got sick the whole tour. So
Julie wants to know if you're going to be in Ohio.
I hope so. What, with Rocket Mafia? I hope so. You know, we're
Cool.
still booking stuff. Right now, it's like the industry shuts down over the holidays. So I won't know anything for another week or two. But there's a whole
I know. Isn't that a pain in the ass?
It is. It's
It is because you know what they do to you? You're just get out of the holidays with your family. And then all of a sudden it's like explosive, wide open. Oh, we have to be on this call and we got to do this. And we need this story. Oh, Brittany, you got this going on or what's going on here? Hey, Troy, can we do this? Hey, we got to get these here. And I'm going to tell you this before I let you go, because I'm just going to do it because I can. We've acquired all of my animals here are named after rock stars. Okay. So I did a little show earlier with Slash, one of my lemurs, because I have rough lemurs. Well, I just acquired another white alligator. And I think what we'll do is we'll name it Rikki Rockett. So every time we take it down to the show, right?
Yes.
Every
Yeah,
time
I
we take
love
it to the show, we're going to do that. So I'm going to do a video where we're going to name the new animal Rikki Rockett. And that way, when everybody comes down, everybody's going to Rikki Rockett. Oh, yeah, from Poison. And we'll promote it. And we're going to do it because we do some great shows. We do a lot of really cool stuff down in yes, Pearl has a friends, Brianna. Yes. We do a lot of shows down there and we're always around. So I'd like to get that done. I think that'd be fun. It's pretty iconic, and what better name to do it? I just thought of it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. Let's just do it. So
right on.
Well,
thank you.
You got to go. I'm happy. I'll send you the video and I'll get your name spelled right this time. I want to make sure that you got to go get your practice on, bro. And
you know, my name is complicated in some ways. I always just tell people 2 Ks, 2 Ts.
Yeah, well, we got to teach spell correct that.
Yes. So, hey, I get everything wrong. The phone guy in here just thinks I'm an idiot, you know.
It must for me too, because I put up, you're like, my name. I'm like, shit. So I go back and I have to go re-edit. But I will tell you, man, thank you for coming on. I know you got to go, and we're 3 minutes past the hour, and I don't want to hold you. Yeah, we should definitely do this again and really touch on some of those crazy topics that you find. I learned so much tonight from what you just said about all that, you know, or being in a box and still being conscious. That's like that was said earlier, a fear. Oh my God, that'd be horrible. So, and I don't even go in caves. If you watch episode 6, you know that. But if you want to definitely come again, we'd be glad to have you, Ricky. It's an honor, man. And
I'd love to do a deep dive on some other stuff and more, you know, deeper dives with cryptids for sure.
Let's do it.
Because I mean, that's your specialty now. So, I mean, you know, I really, I've concentrated a little more on some of these residual hauntings lately, but that's just because what I have to.
That's what they're showing you. Yeah.
And I have a theory for you with that, Ricky. You and I can talk about that.
Yeah, so we'll do it
anytime.
Let's do it again.
Yeah,
And I'll pass off, if you don't mind, I'll pass your information off to Brittany, and you guys can communicate as much as you want.
anytime, of course.
But it would be great to have you back. Obviously, you're,
I would love
do
it if you got the time. I know you're busy. I don't want to take away from time. Time is money in your life. Believe me, I'm there and I understand. So if you got the time, we do.
By the way, you do put this up on YouTube later or no?
I do. Yep, the Motley Croc Show. It's uploading as we speak. It's live.
right
That's
on.
just one of the networks that's live on. And the reason I did that is because people want to charge you so much to store your videos, but YouTube will
Right.
hold your videos forever as long as you don't violate anything. And
Yep.
so I just opened it up to the public not too long ago, so you can kind of go in there and kind of go back to look at all stuff. But yeah, let's do it. I'll send you the link to this show on the Motley Croc page,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. And
Yeah, and I tried to not violate anything on your show.
well, we're allowed. I've got cleared. There's no language or anything. There's no holds barred in this one. I actually got a carve out from Discovery because they looked at my show previously. I had done a show called Non-Organic Girlfriends, where we went to a convention where everybody had synthetic girlfriends. You should have seen the people. That show was. I had to take it down. I had to take it down.
Ricky's
But these are
face
real
just
human
says it
beings
all.
that take dummies. These are real human beings that take dummies in public and feed them and
Yeah.
wipe their mouth. And God knows what they do to them when they get them to the hotel. But all I'm saying is we did a show on that Discovery. I was like, because you got, so it's gone. But if you ever want to see it, I've got clips of it. It'll blow your mind. But anyhow,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
for sure,
gone.
man. We'll have a good time. I'd love to have you back. And I'm looking forward to your band and your book. And I'll start looking. And are you going to be releasing your tour? This is 2025 is a tour of your band.
Yes, and it's not really a tour. We're going to do selected dates all over. We're doing
You gonna come to
Summerfest.
Florida?
We're doing a bunch of things. We better come to Florida.
Dude, you come to Florida and you're in the Tampa Bay, Orlando area, you're coming here. I'll put you in with a kangaroo. You can box that son of a bitch for the kids and film it.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, appreciate you guys coming out, and thanks for everybody supporting us and checking out Rikki and learning about him. This was an introduction. I guess he's going to come back and tell some more deep stuff. We learned a whole lot tonight, and we appreciate all your support. So we want you two to sit tight for just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and end. And you guys for following us, thank you. We'll see you again next week. Have a great weekend.